Excellent. So we can get started here. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. We're very happy to have you on this afternoon, this fine Thursday afternoon.
Mhm.
I'm thrilled to have Brian Sims with us today. He is an educator and training leader who lives at the intersection of project management and generative AI. With over 15 years in education under his belt, Brian has spent the last decade sharpening project management expertise and the past 5 years immersed in a fast moving world of artificial intelligence. At graduate school, Brian heads up curriculum development and training programs that equipped government and private sector professionals with the skills they need to excel in project management, make smarter data driven decisions, and put AI to work in real practical ways. If you've taken one of graduate school's new AI courses or you've been eyeing them, odds are Brian either built the curriculum from the ground up or is the one standing at the front of the classroom. Brian's practical, hands on style, paired with his obvious passion for material, makes every session both valuable and easy to engage with. Today, Brian is here to dig into one of the most practical skills professionals can build right now, prompting generative AI for government work. Well, we'll explore to craft prompts and great real results, where these tools shine in government context, and just as critically, where caution and good judgment need to lead the way. Brian, thank you so much for being here. We're happy to have you. The floor is now yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Amanda. Wonderful to be here. Hi, welcome everyone. Yes, as Amanda said, this will be an introduction to generative AI prompting, and we'll keep all of the demonstrations and a lot of the vocabulary specific to government work. So hopefully you'll have a lot of practical takeaways um, if this is your uh, first sort of foray into generative AI. So we'll spend the next hour here together. As Amanda mentioned, I will try to keep my eye. I'm kind of plugged into the matrix here a little bit. I've got like screens all around me. So if you see me looking literally up and left and right, it's because I'm actually immersed in this course. I've got you guys to one side, some notes, and then what I'm sharing all over. So I'll try to keep an eye on the Q&A and things. I promise I'll do my best. But over the next hour, we'll talk about AI prompting. As Amanda mentioned in her introduction, I'm glad you phrased it the way you did, in fact. Pardon me. It's a couple years old now, but I think it largely holds up. You know, there's some very wise people in the AI space have said one of the most important skills you can have uh, is learning how to communicate with AI, and that's what prompting is, speaking the language of AI. And sure, you can. I mean, AI is awesome, right? If you've had some experience with it, you can take what would normally maybe hours or days even of work and transform it into minutes or even seconds, right? And it's incredible stuff. Um, but some of those tasks still, right? Like you can wrestle with it for quite a while, and even then, it's maybe not so great, right? It can take several turns, and kind of the beauty of the art of the prompt of prompt engineering is getting us to a more usable answer even faster, right? So learning how to kind of speak the language. There's a lot out there on social media too, and I've started to say this in a lot of classes. I think it can be really overwhelming. A lot in the AI space can be very overwhelming with the number of tools and things that are out there. But I see a lot that on social media, if you're on TikTok and Instagram and things. I don't know, maybe Facebook as well. I don't know, but it's like, oh man, this is like the secret prompt that unlocks whatever, and I think that's actually pretty damaging. Maybe there's something good in there, a good nugget. But if you're at a computer or you have your phone and you have some AI apps with you, maybe follow along even in some of the demonstrations that I do over our lunch hour here today, and you'll see like you could even type in exactly the same thing that I do, and you will get a different answer than what I get, right? So anybody who makes a claim that like putting in this exact verbiage will unlock something secret, right, is is kind of misleading you, right? And we'll take some time, even in this short webinar, to talk about how AI works. That I think you'll walk away with this with an understanding of why that's really untrue. So we'll talk about what AI prompting is over our hour here today. Um, uh, we get more specific in some of the courses, but you'll walk away from our webinar with an idea of at least what a prompt framework is and some of the components that make up what a good prompt framework would have in it. So that'll be a practical takeaway. We'll talk about evaluating responses because, as you might assume too, there isn't a one size fits all rubric for AI prompts, right? Kind of very much depends on what you're doing with AI will dictate whether it was good or not. So we'll take some time to look at that. And of course, no discussion of AI would be complete without our fourth objective here, talking about some common pitfalls and touching a little bit on responsible use of AI. So we'll take some time with that. Pardon me. And I'll try too to get quick with the mute button for my coughing to spare you all that. You'll notice, by the way, at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's the Q&A area that Amanda pointed out. Some of you have asked questions already, so that's great, and we've been able to respond to those during the intros. Near that little QA area, you see a reaction, and there's a couple of reactions I think available to you. I want to do a quick poll, and using those reactions, I'd be interested to understand from you. How are you feeling about AI right now? I actually, in looking at the names, some scared faces, lots of scared faces, got some thumbs up, got some hearts, celebration. Okay, definitely. I feel like the most shocked faces. Some people are laughing, even. Okay. Understood. All right. A little bit of laughter, lots of thumbs ups, a little bit of shock, right? And I really, really understand that. Again, obviously, I'm imposing, imbuing some reading into those reactions a little bit. It's a lot, right? I have definitely started to feel a little bit or a lot like just kind of wake me up when it's over, to some extent. Um, but tell me which one of these tools to really invest my time and energy into because it's so much, right? Um, it's a lot. The space is changing so rapidly. Um, I think that's an important thing to take away, right? That it's not you, it's them. If it makes you feel any better, the you're not crazy. It's probably true, in fact, right, that the last time you used this tool, I feel like that behaved totally differently. Am I losing my mind? No, you're not, right? It probably did behave totally differently, even if the UI hasn't changed and that button didn't appear in that same place. Like we'll talk about again enough. You'll walk away from this webinar knowing enough about how generative AI works that you're going to get different responses, first of all, but also the people who make these tools and manage these tools, they're experimenting so much that things are literally moving around in the user interface. And it's just improving all the time, and they're adding features, they're removing features, they're A/B testing. Like I was talking with a SME the other day, who's knows more. I look up to in the AI space, and he was sharing his screen and showing me how something works. And I said, "Wow, that's really interesting because that's not how I don't have to do that at all." And shared my screen, and I showed him the tool I was using, and had a completely different interface. And we're even on the same tenant of Microsoft Copilot. So even within the same tenant, we had a different view of stuff. And like, oh my goodness, like it is so hard to kind of keep track of what's going on in the space. So anyway, suffice to say, I understand that spectrum of reactions. Um, Maybe with some thumbs ups, thumbs downs. Are you using AI at work right now? Do you have experience with it? Ups, lots of ups. Everybody's using AI, it seems like already. I see no thumbs downs at the moment. Some people are still laughing at it, which I get. Uh, okay, got it. All right. Um, does anybody use it at home also? Or are you using it at home as well? Or not so much at home? Using it at home too. Okay. Okay. A little more. Got it. Good to see. Okay, so you're a little experienced. Okay, that's great. Good, perfect. So, since I didn't really see even any thumbs downs, or maybe some of those other reactions were a result of, oh, yeah, probably, oh, I'm sure those other reactions were because there is no thumbs down. So that would be why. Yes, that's exactly what that is. Okay, so there are some thumbs downs. All right, great. Well, no matter whether you have thumbs up or no matter how you answered either of those questions, I promise you, you're going to walk away from this webinar with something useful. Um, Okay, wonderful. Good to know. We've got all sorts of experience levels. That's great to see. So super foundationally, I have seen some names of folks who have even been in class. Some of this actually is a preview, unintentional, maybe a little intentional. Some of this is a preview of what you'll get in class too, if you take any classes with us. Some of this might look a little bit familiar. Some of it is cherry picked, even from the prompting class itself. Um, but yeah, AI is transformative, right? For those of you who haven't used it, maybe even in either instance, it's great for all sorts of things, making you more productive. As you get really advanced with AI, you can even start automating tasks. That gets real fancy real quick with like automating agents and scheduling tasks to do things for you. Like the it's getting awesome like real quick. Certainly making you more creative. We talk about this in the prompt engineering class, and there's an advanced prompt engineering class too, where there's some fancy stuff you can start to do. But actually, it isn't even that fancy, right, necessarily, right? You can start asking it like, I like the track you're on, AI, but maybe give me 5 answers or 5 possible solutions to this, or 10 possible solutions to this, and let me cherry pick the ones I want. That has a specific term I won't cloud your mind with right now. But it can really like here's what I'm thinking. Here's my proposed solution to the problem, AI. But what else? How else might I be thinking about this? What am I not thinking of? Give me some other possible solutions to this problem. So, great for creativity. I use that a lot, right? Here's what I was going to do in my activity for class, but I don't know. I feel like that's kind of boring. How could I really breathe some new life into this? I'm kind of in a creative rut right now. What could I do to make this more interactive and engaging? And it's a great creativity partner when you're in a bit of a slump. Automating repetitive or tedious tasks, fantastic for that. I mentioned, it seems like the mountaintop, but once you learn how, I think with a lot of things with AI, if it makes anybody feel any better, and I really hope it does, like as you learn these things, it's like, oh, like that from the starting point in the race, it seems like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do stuff like that. But I promise you, as somebody who was there not too long ago either, right? Like once you learn how to do this stuff, it really is remarkably easy. The amount of things you can accomplish by just communicating with AI in plain language. So really easy to automate repetitive and tedious tasks, certainly accelerating your learning. It's a great research assistant. I'll try to remember to do this when I go into a demo environment. But there's different models with AI. If you've experimented with that, or even if you haven't, I'll try to point that out when I go into my demo environment. You can use AI for like really quick, like let me get an answer to this. I just need some help and a quick answer, or some quick ideas. Fire those off at me. But it is really good. Most AI tools have a like deep research or deep thinking kind of mode that is fantastic for learning new things. Like go and research this topic for me. It was awesome. I had to kind of like an not out of body, but like zoom out moment, excuse me, a few weeks ago, when I was using a particular tool, and I asked it to go do a very complex task and research something for me. And I set it all up, gave it this really lengthy prompt, answered some questions that the AI had for me about the task, and then, yep, hit enter and go. And I went upstairs and made lunch and like told my wife, like, this is like so cool. Like, just want to take a moment to appreciate this. Like, an AI assistant is downstairs working right now while I'm upstairs making a sandwich. Like, can we just appreciate that for a second? That was really, really awesome. So yeah, great for researching topics and doing what I would certainly argue, like AI is supposed to be doing for us, right? AI is ideally supposed to be our, as I call them in class, our AI assistants, right? Not taking my job, but freeing up my time so I can go walk the dog or actually think about what I need to do next, right? And put my use my higher level thinking for what it's supposed to be, right? And use my expertise in that way, and not in the drudgery of formatting a checklist or something. Anyway, so I spent a lot of time on that bullet, but fantastic for accelerating learning. Really great too. Actually, we have entire classes on this. Um, Great for analyzing data and providing insights. I can't overemphasize that enough. How wonderful that is. I mean, of course, a throughput of all the AI classes, as you may have experienced yourself, is the need for verification for sure, and that's especially true with anything data or helping us make business decisions or providing insights that help inform decisions. You have to verify everything that AI puts out. But it's, I don't know, really been transformative in my own experience with anything data analysis or business analysis related. Because again, like usually the volume of data that you have to comb through as a data analyst is extraordinary, right? Thousands upon thousands of rows and thousands of columns of data. And there's fantastic tools out there that have automated a lot of this already. But like we talk about in those classes, right? AI is just awesome at synthesizing those and looking for patterns that would otherwise possibly be missed, and generating questions and evaluating for bias and things like that. So, really, really been awesome for me anyway in that space. And this last one, I think all of it kind of a great summary is that last bullet there, enabling you to do things beyond your capabilities. Um, which to on a personal and practical level, like I fixed our ice maker recently, right? Or I guess at this point it was a couple of months ago. But I don't know how to do that, but I used the ChatGPT app on my phone and kind of described the problem and took some pictures, and it took some going, right? I had to find the model number and, hey, would this extra information help? And it did, sure enough. But I ended up fixing the ice maker, and it was turns out a really simple problem, but like saved us the service call, right? Like I don't know how to fix freezers. Similarly with like coding, right? I know a little bit of code, like a lot of things. I'm a decent like jack of all trades, I'd say. But I'm not like an expert coder or something, but like I can like develop apps now and like build video games now and write really complex macros for Excel. And I couldn't do that, without the help of AI. So I was actually teaching a class just yesterday, and I was lucky enough to get into the class. Um, I was lucky enough to get into the class to hear that some folks talking about their trouble with AI systems and things that they were having with like tech, and like, oh, I have these problems with my VPN, and I don't understand what any of these messages mean. And that was like, I'm like, actually, I'm kind of glad I got to hear that part of the conversation, because what might be, because we're here to talk about AI. What might be a good idea is like stick that into AI and say, I don't understand what this means. Can you break this down to me like a fifth grader, or make this simpler or something like that, right? So anyway, it's fantastic at doing things beyond your capabilities. So remember that AI, like I talk about in class, right? AI is a great assistant for you, and can be really transformative. And so again, learning how to prompt with it is a fantastic skill to learn. So we're using generative AI, and generative AI. This is the tools that you're using, right? This is ChatGPT, Copilot, GenAI.mil, Claude, if that's something you're allowed to use, those types of things. And just to talk about that really, really briefly, this is any tool that is classified as generative AI. This is something, it can create new content. There's all sorts of model types out there, and they're each kind of better at different types of things. Um, and depending on the model that you're using, usually they can respond to different types of input. So some of them can take audio, for example. Some of them can take video. Most of them, if not all of them, I think, not all of them. A lot of them can take text. So it depends a little bit. But they're used for generally, creativity, automation, simulation, exploration, those types of things. Um, um, and we'll talk about, the power of their ability to take various input types. Keep that in the back of your mind here for a moment, because as we delve into the prompt engineering, that's uh, that being true is quite helpful. So a little bit about how that works is actually very similar to how a lot of modern AI works. It learns patterns from data that it's been fed and trained on, and just kind of like a kid or a pet or something, it starts to feel its way around and learn the ways of the world. It starts to build internal representations. Okay, I think I understand what I'm looking at, and it uses something called probabilistic prediction, emphasis on that word prediction, to begin. All right, I think I've seen enough of this. I think I get it. I think I know what's going to come next. And then it gives you something new, generative AI. It generates something new. But it's a guess, right? It only is as good as that data it learned from, right? So if this thing has only ever seen cats, if you show it a picture of a dog, it's gonna, that's the ugliest cat I've ever seen. But yeah, I guess it's a cat because that's the only animal I've ever seen in my entire life, right? So it's not going to know how to handle that. It'll just think it's a really weird looking cat. It'll generate some new type of output, and it gets better with us, right? Um, uh, uh, we have to give it feedback and different fine tuning and that sort of stuff, which all of that feedback is data that kind of completes the cycle, and it goes again. So that's how it works. Keep this again kind of in the back of your mind. This will come up again when we talk responsible AI use at the tail end of our webinar here. And I also want to take this moment to introduce, for if you heard us talking at the beginning of the webinar, a little buddy. This is, I think, my 4-year-old called him Baby Bot. He won't stay a baby for long. But something we talk about in our AI classes or AI prompting classes, is analogous tasks. And since this is a prompting webinar, that got me thinking, what's an analogous task? And an analogous task is, grow and we're learning. So keep an eye on our baby bot here as we learn and grow a little bit in our webinar. We'll see some different things happen to our little baby bot. So let me go out to a demo environment here and show you a few things that I wanted to show you with some prompts. I'm going to open up Chat GPT here. This was for many folks kind of the original where a lot of us started our AI journeys. So I am logged into my Chat GPT account at the moment, and a benefit, by the way, of logging in, this often comes up in class, is it's kind of nice to do this because you can all of your past chats are logged, so that's kind of nice for uh, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I couldn't fix I just noticed in the chat, I couldn't fix the washer last time when I mentioned this before, but I did fix the ice maker. I'm not going to tell the washer story because that didn't work. Yeah, a reason to log in is all your past chats are logged, so that's really nice. Also, and because it remembers all those past chats and things, it logs that all to memory. So because it logs those past chats to memory and starts to build those internal representations and to help answer your questions, since I'm doing some demonstrations that and those types of things, I'm actually going to use temporary chat, and a lot of different AI tools have this feature. I'm going to go up here to the top right, and I'm going to click on this icon called temporary chat, which is kind of like going incognito. It says this chat won't appear in your chat history and won't be used to train our models. It's also not going to go, or it's not going to go in that chat history, which is what I just showed there. So I'm opening up a chat here, and oh, and I mentioned when I went into a demo environment, I wanted to make sure to show this. There's an instant model, and this is again great for quick answers to questions and those types of things. You can also, if you maybe are doing more in-depth research, you might want to use like a thinking model because it'll take a little bit longer. If you're worried about usage and things like that, it'll cost a little bit more, uses more tokens, and burns through your usage a little bit more. But it'll give you better answers, not verify proof answers. Like you'll still have to check everything that comes out of it, but it'll take a little bit longer and do a little bit more research. But we'll just use instant for now. And again, I'm going to type in, tell me 10 things you can do. And if you're in a position to be able to do this, do it with me. And notice, wow, that happened in seconds. Fast answer indeed. Um, you probably didn't get the same thing that I got, right? It says I can answer questions on a wide range of topics, explain complex ideas in simple and easy to understand ways, help with writing, solve math problems, give recommendations, assist with coding, help learn new skills, brainstorm ideas, summarize long text, and have conversations. If you want, I can show you examples of these. I like to highlight what it says kind of as a postscript because sometimes really great ideas come out of that, by the way. But yeah, if you were able to type this in too, you probably had something like this. Maybe if you didn't use temporary chat or you're using a different tool where you've used it to do other tasks, maybe related to your personal life or your work, um, you may even have seen some of that influence. Like if you had used it to, for baking and different recipes or something, you may have seen it say, oh, I can find recipes with specific ingredients or something like that. So you may have seen it pull in some of that. But a couple of things I want to call out here. So what we just put in here, you're having a chat with your AI assistant. And so I just put in, this is a prompt. Right? So super 101 here. This is a prompt. And you can continue the conversation. So let's say I wanted, so you can help me with math problems. I can say how I can ask, I can dig into this a little bit more. So I'll ask it now, how can you help me with math problems? It says, I can help with math problems in different ways, depending on what you need. I can give step-by-step solutions. Like if you're stuck, I can walk you through the process, not just give an answer. For example, solving a quadratic. I can plug in numbers. Ooh, this is really cool. Uh, uh, Now a lot of their graphs and things are interactive, which is awesome. Like this is a newer feature of the last couple of weeks. So if you haven't played with this in ChatGPT in a while, this is cool to see. So this is really great. Explain concepts clearly, check your work. That could be a great use case for it. Practice problems in here, create visuals. Uh, and cool, I can copy these, or if I'm not liking it, I can give it some feedback, right? Like we saw in that generative AI. Yeah, sure. Let me zoom in here a little bit. I saw that. Um, Help with test prep. If one explanation doesn't click, I can maybe give you another approach. And if, hey, this is great. If you want to send me a problem, I could walk you through it, right? I could click on uh, 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 my child's homework or something and upload that problem and ask AI to work through it, right? So this is really cool, right? I asked it a very general question and wanted to dig in a little bit. I could ask now more questions about, yeah, actually, I am, prepping for my SAT or something like that, and maybe I could, ask this to build questions for me or something like that. So I can follow up on that prompt. While I'm here in this demo environment, I want to showcase another few things. Most tools have things like this. Let's say, oh, I asked about math problems. I didn't mean to ask about math problems. I meant to ask about coding. Usually, and some of the different tools will behave in different ways. But I'm gonna, in this case, hover over this prompt here and edit this message and say, okay, not math problems. I didn't mean to ask about that. I meant to ask about coding, and I'll hit send. Or maybe I wanted to ask a more specific question about math, maybe. So let's see what this does. And this says I can help with coding in a lot of practical ways, hands-on practice, and those sorts of things. So now we're having kind of switched it to have a coding conversation that I could choose to delve into a little bit more. So you can always edit a prompt here specifically in ChatGPT, and this is also really nice. Again, different um, different tools will behave in different ways, but I can flip between the two responses and compare. If I had asked for a different level or something, I can also follow this up and say uh, um, summarize this in 3 bullets, let's say. So I can solve math problems, I can teach and clarify concepts, I can check work and provide practice, right? The other thing I hope you're kind of taken away from this is, right, like it's wherever I leave ambiguity, it's just filling in. Um, I didn't tell it when I asked this, help me with math problems. I didn't tell it how I wanted to see the output. I didn't tell it what type of problem. I didn't tell it, am I a teacher? Am I a student? Am I prepping for something, right? Like it's going to give me an answer, right? We talked about how generative AI works, like that probabilistic prediction. It will find something. Like these AI tools have read the compendium of human knowledge, right? Like they've read everything that's ever been written, and have access to the entirety of the internet, right? They will give us something. But as long as you leave it super open ended like this, it will just fill in any gaps. So prompt engineering is also a really good thing to learn if you're interacting with AI a lot, because it will help reduce the risk of hallucination. Right? Give it as little reason to guess and fill in the gaps as humanly possible. So, and again, we'll get into additional ways that you can combat against that here in a little bit. But now I'm just kind of walking you through the 101 bits of the art of the prompt. While we're here too in a demo environment, I do uh, another kind of common prompt challenge is okay. So far in this particular instance, I was asking it about what its capabilities are. Here I'm asking it about math, and I asked some follow up questions further about math, and I'm having a math conversation. Sometimes this gets a shocked expression in class, so I'll bring it up here with a different audience. Yeah, exactly, just like that reaction. Um, uh, Sometimes folks will I whenever I use my assistant, I open it up and it maybe brings me here if or it brings me to a new chat, but I go back to the one I'm using because that's the one I'm using, and I'll start asking it for recipes or for help with the email that I'm working on for work or whatever, and it kind of gives me some funky answers. um, One thing that you may want to start employing, right, is starting clean chats. If you have a mile long chat, and in that mile long chat, there's all kinds of stuff in there. You're asking it about math problems and work emails and recipes and also and fixing your freezer and your washer or whatever, right? AI is going to make an attempt at connecting all of those things, and that is going to muddy the water fairly quickly, right? Not to mention some more advanced techie stuff like context windows and things. It'll eventually just kind of start to forget what you were originally talking about. So another great reason to not have a mile long chat. But so really good, just kind of hygiene in general for for working with AI is anytime that you start a you switch context, like, all right, we're asking our math related problems. Okay, I got it. I think we're working. Now I want to ask it about coding. Start a new chat. And again, you could go temporary or not, whether or not you wanted it to appear in your history or train the models or whatever, right? So that's kind of a good tip, right? If I've had people in class who were like, it always gives me really weird answers and tries to bring in things from other conversations that seem irrelevant. Well, one possible tip is, are you using the same chat? Another might be, since I'm still in a demo environment here, let me go to personalization, which, by the way, click around. So much of getting better and more proficient at AI is just like look around a little bit. Click on your settings, see what's available in personalization. You can play with. I've left everything here default because I often show this, but you can change the style and tone. You can change the specific characteristics. Custom instructions is awesome, right? This is another good thing like if you are often prompting your AI to like, oh, I'm always have to remind it to do something or to not do something. Um, Great little tip that will help is put it in custom instructions, like always cite your sources or never use those stupid M dashes, right? You way overuse those, right? So don't use them when you're writing for me. Or in our agency, we always have to capitalize veteran, so never say veteran without having it capitalized or whatever, right? If you want to impose any sort of rule for your AI to always follow, this is a really good place to do it. Um, so that's another great thing to keep in mind. Okay, so we showed that. I also was talking to you too about multimodal input types. So here, I'm in ChatGPT still. You can click this little plus button. I also have access to Copilot. I see a chat about that. Let me pull up Copilot here. I've got the app, but you know what? Even better, let me go to Let me go to Copilot. Um, it's the best way I can zoom in a little bit. This will be better. So Copilot, and actually this will be good for demonstration purposes too. You can see too how similar the interfaces are. Okay, I was about to say, please don't make me do a bunch of signing in and stuff, right? Very, very similar. Like it's got the little side panel, just like ChatGPT had. It might call some things, give things different names, but by and large, if you like know one, you kind of know the other. Um, and again, experiment more. Copilot's strength to one of the questions that's in the chat is it's integrated into if you're a Microsoft shop and most organizations are. It's awesome that Copilot is already integrated into so many things. So the answer to a lot of the, which one should I be using questions that I get in class is, well, where are you and what are you trying to do? Copilot is a great place to start because it's right there. It's already looking at your data, probably, right? And probably has access to your organization's graph of information. So, that's probably a really logical choice. But so just like ChatGPT, you can add content here and add some work content or upload images or files and those types of things. And actually, really hats off to ChatGPT or Copilot here. In the last couple of weeks, its image capabilities have really, really improved. So they've made awesome strides. The tech is moving super fast. So that's another thing I certainly want to leave everybody who's attending this webinar with. Um, yeah, I tried Copilot, and Copilot stinks. A month ago, 2 months ago, I agree. Like, but come back, like, give it another try. Like it's make all of the tech is making such big strides. You probably would be impressed, right? Just because it was bad a little while ago, it might not be anymore. And here's an instance where it's made big changes. So here in Copilot, I'll show you something. Again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, they can all take text. Most can take images. You could upload tables and things. Uh, um, uh, Gemini, I know is like if you're using genai.mil, that's kind of a flavor almost of Gemini that can take like audio and video and summarize video or transcribe audio clips and things like that, which is really nice. Um, but here, let me show you something we talk about this at a lot more depth in class, but I'll just to get kind of your prompting pump moving. You can use that to your advantage, right? Its ability to take multiple input types and use it to your advantage. So let's see how this behaves. I'm going to take a table of data. Let's see how this pastes in there. It's just going to paste that table as an image. And so it's a table of data. And I'm going to say something like, here, I'll do this. Write a caption for this table. Oops. No, thank you. And again, I'm doing a very simple example, but think of, like what this unlocks for you, right? That your ability to use multiple modalities and play it against each other. Kind of an aha moment I feel like we often have in class is like if you're, say, preparing a presentation for leadership or something, maybe take a visual from that presentation, or maybe the whole presentation itself, or a report or something, and say, hey, can you look at this AI? What do you think the point of this visual is? And if it doesn't match your intent, maybe that's significant, right? If you were to write a summary paragraph of this, what would that summary paragraph be? And if that, isn't what you're hoping people take away from it, maybe, that gives you a good idea about what or how to revise. So let's see, in this particular instance, I asked it to write a caption. Oh, I'm not able to see any content from the uploaded image. It appears black. Oh, awesome. Thank you very much. Let me try this guy. Let me do that a slightly different way. Let's see if this will help us. Mm, Here, let's try a different one then. Okay. Summary of this file. This is a fake data set we used in some classes. See, and again, actually, this is a great segue into what we'll talk about next here. I didn't give a ton of detail in my prompt here. So everywhere where I kind of left a hole, it's just filling in. I didn't say if I wanted bullet points or paragraphs or under a certain word count or something. So it's just guessing, right? I'm glad we get to see this because this is, again, a good segue into the rest of our webinar here. But this is a bit of a simple demonstration of the power of using the different modalities to enhance one another, right? I could also put in text and ask it to make an infographic and vice versa, right? Or a table of data, right? Those types, or put in an infographic and have it make a table from that. Things that you aren't particularly maybe even natively good at. Like it would take me all afternoon, say, to make an infographic because I'm not like a graphicsy person or something. Well, maybe AI could be a real big help there. So, pardon me, let's get back to our slides here and talk a little bit about prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is, oops, let me turn off transcriptions too. Prompt engineering is how you write and iterate on prompts. So that's a whole field of study that's out there that people employ. And there are things out there called prompt frameworks. And you can think of these like guides on how to do the work of prompt engineering. Um, they're particularly helpful. We talk about some specific ones in class or in the various classes that we have, but they're really helpful, often like little mnemonics. It's worth a Google search because they are often too like related to the work that some people have built them like specific for coding type work or marketing type work or analysis type work and those types of things. So we explore that in more depth in the individual classes. But their purpose is they help you to remember particular details of what would go in a good prompt, again, sometimes specific to a line of work, that's going to get you to better results even faster. Oh, and since we've learned so much, we saw some demos and things. Look at our little baby bot. He's getting bigger. Look at that little guy. He's growing. We'll continue to see him grow. So as you're exploring those different prompt frameworks out here, I'll give you kind of a good guide to be thinking about those. Um, Generally, and there's a whole bunch of flavors, whole mess of flavors, hundreds, if not thousands, of prompt frameworks out there. So again, throughput of all the AI related classes is find one that works best for you. Pardon me. But generally, they will have a particular role or act, like act as. So some of them, a lot of them begin with A's, or a lot of them begin with R's, some with A's because it stands for role or actor. Some sort of task or action to take, um, give it some background data or context, and say something about your desired output. So role, action, context, something about the output. So, like an example of that, and if you're at all like me, like when I first started using AI, I would do a lot of like what you saw me do in the demos so far. Here's a file and summarize this, or can you help me with math? And then okay, and that's fine, right? If you're not worried about usage, you're not limited by that or whatever, and you've got the time to spare, right? That can be totally fine. But when you are worried about usage and want to get to a result faster and more efficiently, and certainly in a work context, that matters a lot more. Being more effective with your prompting carries a lot more weight. So, an example, like a lot of my prompts now are more like paragraphs than two or three words strung together. So, an example, and we use the color coding here to call out when we assigned a role or task or whatever. We might say something like act as a federal policy analyst and summarize the provided emissions rules for small transportation businesses and do so in plain language without adding legal advice, new interpretations, or any sort of advocacy, right? You can probably imagine, even from the demonstrations that we've seen already today, how each part of this dramatically matters, right? If I said it's going to answer me differently, if I said act as a movie director and summarize this, right? It's going to say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, if I were making a movie out of this, I would, consider these, obviously a intentionally silly example. It's going to answer that completely differently than if I say specifically, look through this at the lens, through the lens of a federal policy analyst. And if I'm telling it to summarize the document, completely different answer than, give this to me in, top three bullets or whatever, right? So, um, or if I'm doing something for, if you give it the context, that this is for a board meeting next Tuesday. Oh, okay, board meeting. That's really good to know. This isn't for an email, right? It's going to write two very different types of output. So keep this in mind as you're out there shopping for prompts. This is a really impactful moment in the prompt courses when this comes up. That very transformative in your prompt journey. Another thing to kind of keep in mind is when examples are and aren't useful. You may have heard the terms zero shot or few shot prompting. And all that is when to give examples and when not to give examples. Look at our little guy growing. He's exponentially growing faster now. Zero shot prompting is good for really simple tasks where I don't even need to show you examples. I'm asking something really simple. I don't need to like attach a document or reference anything external necessarily. I can just give it to you, give you some simple instructions, maybe using one of the frameworks. You're probably pretty good. But few shot prompting would be maybe it's a really complex task. And giving it some examples like mimic like this website or here's some attached emails. I want you to kind of emulate this tone or something like that. If you hear people talking about few or zero shot prompting, that's what they mean. Examples or without examples. And examples can be really, really transformative in prompting, by the way. That's a great way to adjust your tone, first of all, and also to get to better output faster. I had somebody in class just this week mention because they had actually discovered it on their own, so fantastic for them. They like had a PDF of something that they had used a year prior. They were doing some internship program or something, and they attached it and said, "You know what? I like. I want this, but for 2026, and the only thing we're changing is this." And AI made them a new PDF, right? Like they didn't have to go to the graphics department, or whatever. Like they did it in like 7 seconds, right? So giving it that example, just make this that, but only change this or whatever, was a they were able to whiz right through it. So giving an example can be really really impactful. Imagine if they had to do that. Arguably that was a complex task. They could have said, "No, but I want the red border like we always have," and whatever, right? They would have had to really wrestle with it if they didn't have that example to give. But of course, know that generative AI is not perfect. Here's a screenshot from ChatGPT when you're first signing up in Copilot. I won't go back to the demo screen for the sake of time, but most of them have some. They do it in like size 4 font or whatever down there. But it'll say like, but don't use this. Like we can be wrong and are often wrong. Got to check everything we say. No, of course, they can be confidently wrong, right? Which is makes it all the more important that we're very clear in our prompts on what the parameters are, or maybe using custom instructions too, citing your sources and things like that. Because AI unequivocally will just make things up, right? I'm sure you've probably heard that term at this point, right? The AI does this thing called hallucinating, right? Uh, we to use that example that we used earlier in this webinar. Like again, if we had a system that had only ever seen cats and suddenly saw a dog, it'll say, "Well, that's the ugliest cat I've ever seen." Right? It's making that up, like, and it's not intentionally being malicious. It just literally doesn't know any better, right? So we have all the more reason for us to give as much context and be as clear as humanly possible. So some great words of advice. Check unfamiliar terms for sure. I often tell this story that um, uh, and it literally just can take just a few seconds too. It's really really worth your time. I was doing some research a couple of weeks ago where it showed the little link, right? It cited a source. This is from a McKinsey study in 2023 about customer satisfaction that says 25% of customers behave a certain way or whatever. And I clicked the link. Sure enough, it was McKinsey, reputable source. It was a 2023 study. Yep, box checked. And I clicked yeah, and it's about customer satisfaction. Awesome. But Control F, looking for 25% as a number, nowhere in the study. Written out, nowhere in the study. And so that caused me to do a little scan of it, and like it passed the sniff test. It took a little bit of digging, but only like 10 seconds of digging. But thank goodness I looked, because nowhere in that study did it actually have the statistic that AI said it had, right? So definitely worth checking, and it's not too hard either, right? Control F is so your friend, right? So certainly check, statistics and things. Um, Certainly, if it's not citing its sources, ask it. I feel like the handful of times I've asked AI, "Oh, that's really interesting. Show me your source." 10 times out of 10, if it doesn't cite a source but says, a recent study showed, then you can back it kind of into a corner where it will eventually admit, yeah, okay, actually, I didn't cite a source because there isn't one. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Um, I mentioned, deep research or thinking modes. Sure, it's going to be better. It'll be more thorough. It'll take its time. But it's also certainly not perfect, right? So that's not a foolproof plan. That it's not now impervious to hallucination. So that don't have that, don't make that mistake. I think I mentioned this one already, right? That red flag of authoritative language, especially without specifics. Be very reluctant with that. As you go off into into the great world of AI prompting, know that never ever put PII or PHI into your AI assistants. Certainly not public models. Obviously, it's up to your agency or organization. What is acceptable in your agency and organization, and probably depends on your role a little bit too, but certainly not into public models, right? And I hope you all walk away from this webinar again, right? We see how that's all cyclical, right? Anything you put in there is data. It trains on that, right? So anything you put in, it's going to learn, and may surface for another user, right? My wife watches a lot of those murder podcasts, and like they say, like, don't, maybe that's the little piece of information that somebody needs to steal your identity or whatever, right? Don't give them that missing piece of the puzzle. Certainly always verify your resources, follow your agency's guidance, and be aware of bias, because again, it only knows what it's been trained on. And that's a great thing to challenge and ask AI about, right? Is there, okay, that's a good answer. I guess I can understand that. Are there any other angles we should be looking at for this? Is this a really fair assessment? Have we considered, are there any demographics that would maybe not benefit from your recommendation here, or something like that, right? AI is actually really good, or has been really good in my experience, with pointing out, actually, since you asked, yeah, that really takes a very narrow view of this data or whatever, right? So there's hopefully some really helpful tips for you. And look at our little baby bot. He's gotten so big now. He's ready to use that little iPad and do all sorts of intelligent prompting and stuff. He's grown a lot. I hope you have too, in just a short little time with me today. So, in summary, I hope you walk away from this webinar with the knowledge that being as clear and specific in your prompts as possible is going to get you better results, right? The more precise your prompt, the more useful your answer is going to be. Again, try to cover as much ground as possible, so it doesn't have to guess, because wherever it has to guess, it's just going to fill in those holes by itself, right? That's a really big takeaway. Um, and also know it's okay, right, to refine your output, right? If you go 2 or 3 turns, maybe you even ask your AI. This is a really helpful tip too. Ask it, here's everything I can think of to tell you. AI, ask me questions. Like, do you have any other questions? Because I don't want you to guess. That's a really great tip, and it'll often think of something, right? So it's okay to go a couple of rounds with it and not get the perfect response right away. So refining, doing a little bit of refining is not a failure at all, right? Look at it completely the opposite way. But verify your outputs, no matter what, right? If it's cite sources, I told stories here, right, already. A great reason to click all those links. And of course, use AI responsibly. Never put information in there, anything, that's pre-decision materials or classified materials or PII, into certainly public models, and follow your agency's regulations. So as far as next steps, stay curious. I mean, that's really the best advice I can give you. Explore, like, click buttons, see what that button does. What does the settings do? I didn't notice that last time I was in there. That is going to get you incredibly far in the AI space. And I love it. Like, unlike maybe a human assistant, your AI assistant isn't going to judge you, right? They're not going to think you're dumb for asking what that is for the 100th time or whatever, right? Like, it's okay. So stay curious, right? Ask away. It's not going to call you names, probably, unless it's Grok. Grok gets a little fussy sometimes. Be safe with your prompting. And if you're interested in more classes, again, you'll see me in a lot of them. Graduateschool.edu/AI. It will take you to all of our AI offerings, and there you are now, standing big and tall, knowing everything or a lot that there is to know about getting started with AI. So thank you all very much for spending your lunch hour with us today. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Amanda just put in a link. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you for the kind messages in Q&A. And yeah, Amanda just put a link in the chat there for future webinars if you're interested. I'm giving another one next week. There's a whole bunch coming up. There's like a dozen or so in the next couple of months. So hope to see everybody there. Thank you very much and have a great day, everyone.